Read text 24 also. Kravyada pranina kravyam daduhu svekalevare suparna vatsa vihagas charam cha charameva cha. Word for word translation. Pasava, cattle. Yavasam, green grasses. Shiram, milk. Vatsam, the calf. Kritva, making. Cha, also. Govrisam, the bull carrier of Lord Shiva. Aranyapatre, in the pot of the forest. Cha, also. Adukshan, milked out. Mriga Indrena, by the lion. Cha, and. Damstrinaha, animals with sharp teeth. Kravya Adaha, animals who eat raw flesh. Praninaha, living entities. Kravyam, flesh. Duduhu, took out. Swe, own. Kalevare, in the pot of the body. Suparna, Garuda. Vatsaha, whose calf. Vihagaha, the birds. Charam, moving living entities. Cha, also. Acharam, non-moving living entities. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Shalesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The four-legged animals, like the cows, made a calf out of the bull who carries Lord Shiva, and made a milking pot out of the forest. Thus they got fresh green grasses to eat. Ferocious animals, like tigers, transformed a lion into a calf, and thus they were able to get flesh for milk. The birds made a calf out of Garuda, and took milk from the planet Earth in the form of moving insects and non-moving plants and grasses. Purport. There are many carnivorous birds descended from Garuda, the winged carrier of Lord Shiva. Indeed, there is a particular type of bird that is very fond of eating monkeys. Eagles are fond of eating goats, and of course many birds eat only fruits and berries. Therefore the words charam, referring to moving animals, and acharam, referring to grasses, fruits and vegetables, are mentioned in this verse. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksul Metamena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we're continuing our discussion from Canto 4, Chapter 18, titled Prithu Maharaj Milks the Earth Planet. So in this chapter we're seeing how Mother Earth, she's supplying all the necessities and resources, foodstuffs, for all different kinds of living entities. So in today's verse we're seeing how Mother Earth, she is supplying the food for the four-legged animals who make a calf out of the bull that carries Lord Shiva. What's the name of the bull that carries Lord Shiva? Nandi. So regarding Nandi, one pastime comes to mind. This is there in Gaur Leela. Once upon a time it said that there was one, just like we have Bhagavatam class here, In the same way in Navadvip, one time Chaitanya Leela class was happening. Discussion about Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And it said that Lord Shiva, he hears that, Chaitanya Charitamrita class is happening, in this island in Navadvip. And then he gets very excited. And then he becomes very eager to go and hear, Chaitanya Leela in Navadvip. It said, right, Lord Shiva, he's Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. Of all the Vaishnavas, he's the topmost Vaishnava. So in Bhagavatam, in Shastra, it said that one of the symptoms of a pure devotee is that he is addicted to hearing the pastimes of the Lord. And he has intense desire, he has intense eagerness or enthusiasm to hear the pastimes of the Lord. So we see that with Lord Shiva here. So immediately he hears, that in Navadvip, Gaur Leela Katha is happening. So immediately he becomes very eager, enthusiastic. He immediately calls his bull, Nandi, his carrier. And then he gets on the back of Nandi and then he starts traveling, from Kailash to Navadvip to come attend the class on time. As he's traveling, he's noticing that Nandi is a bull. Bull, they can't travel so fast. So the bull is very slow, very slowly going. And Lord Shiva is looking at his watch, time is clicking. He is running late for Gaur Leela class. And then he doesn't want to come late, for class. So what does he do? He tells Nandi to go faster, please go faster, at this rate you're traveling, we'll be late for class, we'll miss the first half of the class. Nandi, his bull, is trying his hardest, to go quickly, but, he has his limits and he's too slow for Lord Shiva. Then Lord Shiva, what to do? He then gets his iPhone out, he calls his father, Lord Brahma, my dear father, can I please borrow your swan? So just like Lord Shiva, he has a bull as his carrier, Nandi, in the same way. Lord Brahma, his father, he has a swan carrier. And swans, they can fly, right? So they can go much more faster than bulls. So Lord Shiva, he asks his father, Brahma, that please, Gaur Leela class is happening in Navadvip. I don't want to be late. I want to come on time. I don't want to miss, even a single minute of Chaitanya Leela. So that's the intense greed that pure devotees have, to hear pastimes of Krishna or Mahaprabhu. So the same intense greed, enthusiasm to hear about Krishna we must have also. So this is said to be one of the symptoms by which we can tell whether we're advancing or not. The more eager we are, the more enthusiastic we are to hear about Krishna's pastimes, the more we can say that we are progressing in devotional service. So as the story goes, Brahma says, yes, you can take my swan. Brahma, he sends his swan. Then Lord Shiva, he gets off Nandi. He gets on the swan, and on Lord Brahma's swan, he then travels to Navadvip and comes and attends the class on time. And here's the whole Gaur Leela class. Like this, there's this one nice pastime, and there's a temple in Navadvip dedicated to this pastime of how Lord Shiva comes seated on Lord Brahma's carrier. So that's the bull carrier of Lord Shiva, Nandi. And then next today it's given that ferocious animals like tigers transformed a lion into a calf, and thus they were able to get flesh for milk. I was hearing in one lecture yesterday about tigers and lions from Radheshyam Prabhu. He was explaining the difference between devotees and yogis and jnanis. He was saying one main difference between devotees and the jnanis and the yogis is that if you look at yogis and jnanis, they will always do their spiritual practice alone. Have you ever seen a yogi, doing tapasya with a group of other yogis, all seated together discussing Shastra? No. Every yogi, he will go to the forest and he will have his own secluded place and where he will do his meditation. He'll either be in one secluded place in the forest or in one cave. So every yogi, he will do his spiritual practice alone. no yogi will, associate with other yogis and together do his Ashtanga yoga. Same with Jnanis, They themselves would try to study and speculate. But Radhashyam Prabhu is mentioning that when it comes to devotees, it's different. Devotees are unique because they practice their spiritual practices in the association of other yogis, in the association of other bhakti yogis. So he's saying that as bhakti yogis, it's very important for us to learn how to get along with other devotees, to learn how to do devotional service with other devotees without, offending them. And he was saying we should be flexible when it comes to associating with devotees. Like we might have our own conception, that, okay, we need to do this seva in this way. But then every other devotee will have their own conception. No, I think it will be better that we serve Krishna in this way. So every devotee has their own idea in which they think is Krishna can best be served. So how to cooperate together and serve Krishna nicely, that requires some effort from our side. And he was saying that requires us to be a bit flexible. We can't get our way all the time. We should be flexible and consider the ways of other devotees. Consider the thoughts of other devotees into which, how Krishna can particularly be served. And the example he was giving was that of lions and tigers. He was saying if we look in the jungle, these tigers or lions, they will generally always travel alone. A tiger will be off alone by himself, and then he'll catch some prey and then eat. Same thing with lions. So we're saying that these jnanis and yogis who generally practice spiritual life by themselves, and they think, through their own endeavor, they will attain perfection. That's compared to lions and tigers who are generally alone in the forest. Whereas bhakti yogis, they understand that, if I really want to please Krishna, I need to serve Krishna in the association of devotees. Like Lord Kapila Dev, he says, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkana rasayana kataha tad josana dasu apavarga vatmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramisyati. So Lord Kapila Dev, he explains to his mother Devahuti in 3rd canto that when devotional service or bhakti is done in the association of other devotees, then that devotional service becomes more potent. That devotional service becomes more pleasing to Krishna. And the potency of that devotional service or hearing and chanting is much greater. So that's why devotees, they always do devotional service or bhakti in the association of others. They're not like yogis or jnanis, just out on their own, trying to attain Krishna on their own endeavor. That's why these yogis and jnanis, Shastras explain, they never actually attain Krishna. It's Lord Brahma says in his prayers, the famous Brahma Samhita prayers, he says that these yogis, they alone practice meditation for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And even after practicing meditation for thousands and thousands of years, at the end, what do they achieve? They just get a tiny glimpse of the rays coming from the toenails of Krishna. That's all they get. After thousands and thousands and thousands of years of tapasya, the end result is they just get a small glimpse of the effulgence coming from Krishna's toenails. And here we are, as bhakti yogis, every day we get to take full darshan of Radha Gopinath, from Gopinath's lotus feet all the way to Gopinath's lotus face. So that's the difference between yogis and bhaktas. Yogis, they're like these lions or tigers. They're just off alone in the forest, trying to attain Krishna on their own endeavor. That's why they're never successful. Whereas devotees, on the other hand, they're always in a group with other devotees, and together with other devotees, they cooperate together and they work as a team to please Krishna. And this is what pleases Krishna very much. Just like in this same 4th canto, later on we will see the story of the Prachetas. So the Prachetas, they were a group of brothers, and they were doing tapasya under the instruction of Lord Shiva under the depths of the ocean. And then after many years of tapasya, they get darshan of Lord Vishnu. And when Lord Vishnu gives them darshan, the very first thing that Lord Vishnu tells them is that one thing, when Lord Vishnu gives them darshan, the first thing he tells them is that I'm very much pleased by how you 4 brothers are working together so nicely, cooperating together to serve me. This very much, your friendship amongst yourself very much pleases me. So that's the very first thing that Vishnu, he appreciates about the Prachetas. And in that purport, Prabhupada further elaborates that when we cooperatively work with other devotees, with nice friendship and serve Krishna, in the association of other devotees, this very much pleases Krishna, and this very much attracts Krishna's attention. So that example I was hearing yesterday, that these yogis, they're like these tigers doing their spiritual practice alone, but as devotees, we should not be like this. We should be like, deer. The deer, they always flock together, or, birds. You'll see in the park sometime, all the birds together, they'll be flocking together. So as devotees, that's how we should be. Okay, the third thing mentioned in this verse is, the birds made a calf out of Garuda and took milk from the planet Earth in the form of moving insects and non-moving plants and grasses. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains that there's 2 kinds of birds. There's birds that just eat, fruits, berries, so on and so forth. Then there is the other type of birds who eat meat actually. So Garuda, although he's a carrier of Lord Vishnu, his foodstuff is actually meat. He eats fish and other animals. So he's like a huge transcendental eagle. And regarding Garuda, there's the famous pastime in Krishna book of how one time he was traveling by Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan there is Yamuna. And then in Yamuna there's a lot of nice fish. So Garuda, he goes to the Yamuna. And the natural foodstuff for Garuda is fish. So then he goes to Vrindavan. In Vrindavan there's Yamuna. He goes into the Yamuna and he starts taking fish, for his prasad or for his food. And in that water was a great sage or rishi. His name was Sobari Muni. And this rishi, he was doing tapasya under the water. Because outside the water there will be so many distractions. So he thought, let me go under the water. I will do tapasya there. There will be no distraction. And when he sees that there's this big, huge, eagle, Garuda, he's coming and eating all the fish in Yamuna, then he gets angry at Garuda. And then he starts chastising Garuda that, or he starts instructing Garuda that please don't eat the fish in this river, Let them live, go somewhere else and eat. Like this he instructs Garuda. Then in Krishna book, Prabhupada explains, Garuda thinks, okay, there's this great sage, rishi. Actually, Garuda is much more higher, in the hierarchy than this rishi. He's the personal carrier of Lord Vishnu. So his spiritual stature is much higher than Sobari Rishi. He's just a yogi doing tapasya. Garuda, he's a pure devotee of Vishnu. He's the personal carrier of Krishna himself. Lord Garuda is humble. He says, okay, fine. You're saying to leave this fish alone in the Yamuna. So, okay, I won't eat the fish. And in Krishna book, Prabhupada explains, Garuda, he thinks, instead of eating many small fish, let me just eat one big fish. So that's what Garuda does. Instead of killing and eating many different small fish, Garuda, he just picks one big, huge fish, and then he takes that big fish. Then the Sobari Rishi, he gets angry. It's like, I told you, don't eat, here, don't harm the fish, and you're not listening to me. And then he curses, or he chastises Garuda actually. And because of this, Sobari Rishi, he does, it's mentioned in Bhagavatam, he does Vaishnava Prad onto Garuda. How does he do Vaishnava Aparadha? Our acharyas, they explain in the commentary. He offends Garuda in two ways. First way he offends Garuda is that Garuda is a Vaishnava and he's coming to take his prasad. So the first offense he does is, while a Vaishnava is trying to honor his prasad, he is stopping him from honoring his prasad. So this is considered as a serious offense. Just like, say, it's breakfast time, or lunch time, and we're sitting down and taking prasad. While we're nicely honoring Krishna prasad, if someone comes and just takes away our prasad, how will we feel? We'll feel bad, right? We will feel offended, actually. So the same thing happens to Garuda. For him, his prasad is fish. That's his natural food stuff. So he offers that to Krishna and he eats. Because he's an eagle or a vulture. So he eats that as his prasad. So while he's trying to honor his prasad, this yogi comes and tells him, no, you can't eat, stop, like this. So just like when we're trying to honor nice Krishna prasad, if someone comes and disturbs us, we'll feel disturbed, right? We'll feel offended. In the same way, same thing happens to Garuda. So this was offense number 1 that Sobari Rishi committed against Garuda. So lesson to be learned here is, when devotees are taking prasad, we should be careful not to disturb them, because that's actually a limb of devotional service. That's actually a type of service. We're not eating prasad, we're honoring prasad. So when a Vaishnava or a Vaishnavi is honoring prasad, they're actually serving Krishna through their tongue. And if we come and disturb them, that's actually a type of Vaishnava Aparadha. So that's one lesson we can learn, that when devotees are honoring prasad, we should be careful not to disturb them and let them honor their prasad peacefully. So that's the first offense Sobari Rishi committed. Second offense he committed was, Garuda was much more elevated than Sobari Rishi in terms of spiritual advancement. So when a person of lower stature, when he instructs someone of a higher stature, that's considered as aparadha also. So if someone is more senior to us in terms of spiritual advancement, and if we correct them and give them instruction that, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji or Mataji, you shouldn't do like this, actually you did this mistake, you should do like this. So if we instruct someone who is more senior to us in bhakti, that's actually aparadha. It's none of our business, to find faults with devotees who are senior to us. So if we do so, then that's also considered aparadha. So that's the second aparadha that Sobari Rishi commits against Garuda. That he finds fault and he instructs Vaishnava who is more senior to him. So in this way, the acharyas mentioned he commits 2 or 3 different types of aparadha. First aparadha is that he stops a Vaishnava or he disturbs a Vaishnava while he's trying to honor his prasad. Second aparadha, he is trying to find fault with someone who's more senior to him. Third aparadha, he is instructing someone who is more senior to him in spiritual practice. So because of these 3 reasons, he commits, or these are the 3 different ways that Sobari Rishi, he commits aparadha against Garuda. And because of that, as a reaction, later on we will hear in Bhagavatam how he falls down from his spiritual practice. Then Garuda goes, as a humble devotee, he doesn't retaliate. So he said that this is one of the qualities of a devotee, that he is very tolerant. Just like a tree, Mahaprabhu explains. You can go to a tree, you can blaspheme the tree, you can cut down the tree, you can get bark from the tree, you can steal the tree's fruits, leaves, branches. Animals come and urinate on the tree. So many different ways people come and harass the tree, but the tree never retaliates. When someone is coming to take a fruit of the tree, or the woodcutter is coming to chop down the tree, we don't see the tree, swinging its branch and hitting the person. Couldn't do that, right? It has big branches, very strong. With the branches, it can just smash the person. But no, the tree just tolerates. So Vaishnava, Vaishnavi is supposed to be like a tree, very tolerant. So although Garuda, being Krishna's personal carrier, he could have retaliated Sobari Muni, he could have cursed Sobari Rishi, He didn't have to listen to Shobri Rishi. Still, as a humble Vaishnava, he didn't say anything, he went away. Shobri Rishi told him that, don't come to this place again. And he cursed him that you can't come to this area anymore. So because of that, later on Shobri Rishi, as he's doing his tapasya underwater, later on he sees 2 fish copulating, and just by seeing that he gets bewildered. Then he comes out of the water, then he goes to so this is in Vrindavan, this is all happening in Vrindavan, in Yamuna. Then what's the city? The big city near Vrindavan? Mathura, yeah. So then he goes to Mathura, that's where the king is. And then he approaches the king and he says that, I want to get married, please give me, one of your daughters. And this rishi, he's been doing tapasya underwater for so many years, so he doesn't look so good, there's like all this seaweed and, moss and, he looks very scary and ugly. And the king, he's very tactful. He doesn't want to, he can't, say yes because he looks so bad. He doesn't want his daughters to marry such a, ugly looking like rishi. But at the same time, he can't say no also, because if he says no, the rishi will get offended. So he very tactfully, cleverly, he tells Shobri Rishi that, sure, you can marry any one of my daughters. If my daughters, whichever one of my daughters, chooses you, he tells him something like, my daughters, they all have a right, to choose their own husband. So whichever one of my daughters want to marry you, you can accept them. Now, which one of the daughters will marry him, because he looks so ugly. So that's why the king thought that all the daughters, they will just say, no, we don't want to marry him, and then the matter will be settled. But this rishi, he understands, because he has done so much tapasya, using his mystic power, he transforms himself into a beautiful young person. Then all the daughters, they start fighting. That, no, I want to marry him, I want to marry him, I want to marry him. And then he ends up marrying all the 50 daughters. Then later on, after many years, he comes to his senses, and then him along with his 50 wives, they all take to bhakti and they all attain perfection. So that's one story of Garuda, famous story we see in Krishna book. Another story that comes to mind is there in Lord Jagannath's pastimes. So Garuda is a pure devotee of the Lord, but sometimes Krishna, through his devotees, he tries to teach us some lessons. So as the pastimes goes, once upon a time, Lord Jagannath, he notices that Garuda, he has developed a little bit of pride. Being the personal carrier of Lord Vishnu, being so powerful and strong, no one can come in front of Garuda. He's like practically invincible. So Lord Jagannath thought, how to help my devotee, to overcome this pride actually. So then he thinks of a plan, and he goes to Garuda and he tells Garuda, I want to see my devotee Hanuman. Please go to Hanuman and call Hanuman to come visit me. So then Garuda, he flies and he goes to Hanuman. He says, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Lord Jagannath, he wants to see you, please come soon. And then Hanuman's like, yes, of course, this is my worshipable Lord. So then Garuda, after telling Hanuman, he immediately, quickly flies back to Jagannath Puri. As the pastime goes, Garuda, he thinks to have a little bit of fun with Hanuman. So when Hanuman approaches Jagannath Puri and is going to enter, one of the gates to come inside the temple, at that time Garuda, he's a bird, right? So he's very fast. So he starts spinning, all around the temple. And Hanuman, he can't get in because Garuda is spinning and going around such great speed, and he's blocking the entrance of Hanuman. So Hanuman, he doesn't know what to do, how to get inside. And Hanuman, what does he do? He just remembers his dear Lord, Lord Ramachandra or Lord Jagannath, and he prays to him. And then with the strength from Lord Jagannath, it's given Hanuman. Oh, actually, this is not with Garuda. This is with Sudarshan. Sorry. I got the pastime. Sorry, this pastime is of Sudarshan, not Garuda. Okay, wrong pastime. But I'll complete it anyway. So this pastime happens with Sudarshan Chakra, not Garuda. Sudarshan, once upon a time, he got little pride, and he was going all around, stopping Hanuman. So Hanuman, he prays to Lord Jagannath, gets power, and then he catches hold of Sudarshan with two of his hands, and it's given that Hanuman, he manifests, I think, 6 arms. 6 arms Hanuman manifests, and with 2 arms, he catches hold of Sudarshan Chakra, which is completely unheard of in the history of the universe, that someone can actually catch Sudarshan Chakra. You know, Sudarshan Chakra is invincible, but by the power of Lord Jagannath, Hanuman is able to somehow just capture Sudarshan Chakra with 2 of his hands. So with 2 arms, he captures Sudarshan Chakra, and then is given with other 2 arms. He is doing pranams, to Lord Jagannath like this, and the other remaining 2 arms he has up like this, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So like this, he comes and takes darshan of Lord Jagannath. And then Lord Jagannath, he then curses actually, or mildly chastises Sudarshan Chakra that, this is, like an offense you did against Hanuman, my pure devotee. So as a result of this offense, I curse you that, in this temple, in Kali Yuga, you will be by my side you will take the form of a pillar, actually. So that's why we see, with Lord Jagannath, that Sudarshan Chakra is there, but Sudarshan Chakra is there in the form of a pillar because of the chastisement of Lord Jagannath. Then Sudarshan Chakra, he becomes obviously sad and he prays to Lord Jagannath that please, this is a very heavy curse. Then Lord Jagannath says, okay, no problem. What I'll do, I'll put you on my flag. On the top of my temple in Jagannath Puri, on the flag, your picture will go there and your presence will be there. And I give the boon or the benediction that whichever pilgrim or devotee is coming to take darshan of me, if he just takes darshan of you on my flag, then that's equivalent of them coming and taking my personal darshan. So during Mahaprabhu's times, some devotees like Haridas Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they weren't allowed to enter into the temple of Jagannath Puri. So the way they used to take darshan is they used to take darshan of Sudarshan on that flag on top of the temple. So that's one nice pastime of Lord Jagannath, Sudarshan, Hanuman. Sorry, I thought it was Garuda. But anyway, it's a nice pastime. Okay, let's continue on. Text number 25. Vata vatsa vanaspataya prityagrasa mayam payaha girayo himavad vatsa nana dhatun sva sanusu. The trees made a calf out of the banyan tree, and thus they derived milk in the form of many delicious juices. The mountains transformed the Himalayas into a calf, and they milked a variety of minerals into a pot made of the peaks of hills. Snow purport will continue on, text 26. Sarve swa mukha vatsena swese patre pritagpayaha sarvakama dugham prithvim duduhu pritubhavitam. Translation: the planet Earth supplied everyone his respective food. During the time of King Prithu, the earth was fully under the control of the king. Thus all the inhabitants of earth could get their food supply by creating various types of calves and putting their particular types of milk in various pots. Purport: this is evidence that the Lord supplies food to everyone, as confirmed in the Vedas. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Although the Lord is one, He is supplying all necessities to everyone through the medium of the planet Earth. There are different varieties of living entities on different planets, and they all derive their eatables from their planets in different forms. So Prabhupada here is elaborating how in this chapter we're seeing how Krishna is supplying food to everyone, from the plants, the birds, the beasts, the human beings, the rakshasas, the demigods. So we're seeing all different kinds of living entities, and all of them, they're being maintained by Krishna himself. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. One story comes to mind of His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj. So it said that Maharaj, right from childhood, he was reading Bhagavatam. He was, reading Bhagavatam right from a very young age. And it said that his parents, his father, they used to chastise him that, what are you doing just reading Bhagavatam? You should read your study books, your school books. What will this Bhagavatam do, Will this Bhagavatam give you food on the plate, when you grow up? Will it give you money? Will it give you shelter? Go to school, study properly, get proper education, get proper job, degree. And then, you can get nice food, you can nicely maintain yourself. What do you think? If you just read Bhagavatam, give your life to Bhagavatam, food will automatically come to you, shelter will come to you. How will you live life if you just read Bhagavatam? Like this, his father used to tell him when he was small. And then Maharaj jokes later on that my father used to chastise me, that I will be hungry, I won't get any food, I won't get any chapatis, I won't get any food. Now look at me. My whole life I've just been reading and talking about Bhagavatam. Now look, every day I get so many chapatis, and not only chapatis, but each and every chapati I get is all soaked in ghee. Just look how opulently I'm living. I'm living just like a king. Every day I get 6-7 chapatis, soaked in ghee with nice sabjis. So who is taking care of me? Krishna is taking care of me. Never have I starved in my life. So same thing Prabhupada used to explain, during Prabhupada's time. Most devotees, they used to stay in the temple. Very few, they used to live outside. So people outside, they used to criticize, devotees or Prabhupada that you guys, just escaping society, just doing your own thing. And Prabhupada used to say that, no, you're also welcome to join us, You can also join us, we have nice prasad, nice food, we serve Krishna, we get our money by distributing our books. Why don't you come join us? But people, they so attached, they wouldn't join. And Prabhupada used to say, just give this one life to Krishna. Like Prabhupada told that to Bhakti Charu Maharaj. One time Prabhupada was with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and Prabhupada told Bhakti Charu Maharaj that so many lifetimes, we have given to Maya, we have given to the illusory energy. Just this one lifetime you give to Krishna and see what happens. So many other lifetimes we did so many other things, experimented. Make this one experiment in this lifetime. Try it out. What's the loss? Already we were losers in so many lifetimes. We tried so many different things. Why not in this one lifetime, you make this experiment and just dedicate this whole life to Krishna. Like this, Prabhupada, once he instructed Bhakti Charu Maharaj, that just give this one life to Krishna and see where it goes. And Prabhupada used to tell his devotees that Krishna, there's these big elephants, in Africa, in the jungles. And these big elephants, how much food they need to eat, right, to fill their belly every day. They need hundreds of kilos of, leaves and fruits to fill their belly. Who is giving them that so much food? They don't have to work, 9 to 5 in some office, get money. They don't go to Coles, Woolies, buy food for themselves. So where are they getting their food from? Krishna is supplying all their food, right? So if Krishna can maintain these big elephants who eat hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilos of food every day, why won't he maintain his devotees who are serving him day in and day out, 24 hours a day? So definitely Krishna will maintain his devotees. Like this, Prabhupada used to give a lot of faith and conviction to his devotees that don't worry, just dedicate this one life to Krishna. Krishna will take care of you. So many karmis are there, they're coming and praying to Krishna, and Krishna is fulfilling the desires of so many karmis. Krishna is maintaining all the birds, the beasts, the big elephants. Then why won't he maintain his pure devotees? Why won't he maintain his devotees who are serving him day and night? So have faith, don't worry, Krishna will maintain you. nothing will happen. Like this Prabhupada, he used to preach. And that's what we see in this chapter, that all sorts of living entities, they're all being maintained by Krishna himself. Okay, we'll continue on with the purport. He is supplying all necessities to everyone through the medium of the planet Earth. There are different varieties of living entities on different planets, and they all derive the eatables from their planets in different forms. On the basis of these descriptions, how can one assume that there is no living entity on the moon? Every moon is earthly, being composed of the 5 elements. Every planet produces different types of food according to the needs of his residents. According to the Vedic Shastras, it is not true that the moon does not produce food or that no living entity is living there. Okay, we'll continue on. Text 27. Evam pritu adaya prithvim anada swanam atmanaha doha vatsadi bhedena shira bedam kurudvaha. My dear Vidura, chief of the Kurus, in this way, King Prithu and all the others who subsist on food created different types of calves and milked out their respective eatables. Thus they received their various foodstuffs, which were symbolized as milk. Text 28. Tato mahipati prita sarvakama dugam prithu duhitrve chakaremam premna duhitrivatsalaha. Thereafter King Prithu was very satisfied with the planet Earth, for she sufficiently supplied all food to various living entities. Thus he developed an affection for the planet Earth, just as if she were his own daughter. Text 29. Churnayan swadanuskotya girikuta nirajarat bhumandalam idam venya prayas chakre samam vibhuhu. After this, the king of all kings, Maharaj Prithu, leveled all rough places on the surface of the globe by breaking up the hills with the strength of his bow. By his grace, the surface of the globe almost became flat. Purport: generally, the mountainous and hilly portions of the earth are made flat by striking of thunderbolts. Generally, this is the business of King Indra of the heavenly planets. But King Prithu, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality Godhead, did not wait for King Indra to break up the hills and mountains, but did so himself by using his strong bow. So one of the things that King Prithu did was, it's mentioned here that before King Prithu Maharaj came, the earth planet was full of many, many hills and mountains. And because of this, it was hard to do agriculture or to sow the land, to produce food grains, so on and so forth. So one of the things that King Prithu Maharaj did was that just by the power of his bow, he started breaking up all the mountains and hills, and he started flattening the surface of the earth. That's why today we see, most of the land is like flattened. There's some hilly and mountainous regions, but most of planet Earth has become flat. So how this happened? This all happened due to the power of Maharaj Prithu. Before he came, it's mentioned here that there were many hills and mountains all over the surface. But by the power of his bow, he was able to flatten most of planet Earth. And then, after doing that, then the citizens or the people or the residents of planet Earth, they could now start doing more agriculture. They could sow more seeds, produce more food grains, fruits, vegetables, so on and so forth. Okay, text 30. Atasmin bhagavan venya prajanam ritidapita nivasan kalpayam chakre tatra tatra yatarhataha. To all the citizens of the state, King Prithu was as good as a father. Thus he was visibly engaged in giving them proper subsistence and proper employment for subsistence. After leveling the surface of the globe, he earmarked different places for residential quarters, in as much as they were desirable. 31. Graman pura patanani durgani vividani cha ghosan brajan sasibiran akaran keta kharvatan. In this way, the king founded many types of villages, settlements, and towns, and built forts, residences for cowherdsmen, stables for the animals, and places for the royal camps, mining places, agriculture towns, and mountain villages. So after flooding the earth, one of the things that Prithu Maharaj did, he started organizing different sections of different countries around planet Earth. So he started making boundaries, making different types of villages. He started making different kind of residences for Vaishyas, residences for the animals, places of residence for Kshatriyas. He started making delegating different places for mining of minerals, so on and so forth. So he started organizing planet Earth in a very systematic manner. There's no purport. We'll continue on. Text 32. Prakritor iha nevaisa pura grama dikalpana yata sukham vasanti sma tatra tatra kuto bayaha. Before the reign of King Prithu, there was no planned arrangement for different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, etc. Everything was scattered, and everyone constructed his residential quarters according to his own convenience. However, since King Prithu, plans were made for towns and villages. Purport. From this statement it appears that town and city planning is not new but has been coming down since the time of King Prithu. In India we can see regular planning methods evident in very old cities. In Srimad Bhagavatam there are many descriptions of such ancient cities. Even 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna's capital, Dwarka, was very well planned, and similar other cities, Mathura and Hastinapur, now New Delhi, were also well planned. Thus the planning of cities and towns is not a modern innovation, but was existing in bygone ages. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prithu Maharaj Milks the Planet Earth. So this is one of the unique contributions of King Prithu Maharaj, being mentioned here in this last verse, that before his time there was no planned arrangement of different cities, villages, so on and so forth. So when he came, he then planned out, we'll have this city here, that city there, this village here. So like this, he marked out the whole planet Earth. And Prabhupada in the purport is mentioning that all this city planning, town planning that we're seeing nowadays, this all started from the time of Maharaj Prithu, thousands and thousands of years ago. Similar kind of thing is mentioned about our Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's said that before Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he came into this world, when it came to Vaishnava philosophy, practicing bhakti, devotional service, it was mainly just kept to just small villages. So the system back then was, in every village there will be like one guru, and that guru will be, they had this village guru system. So every village there will be like one sadhu, and that sadhu would initiate everyone in that village, and they would just be there. And that's how things would happen. There was no concept of preaching. There was no concept of going town to town and sharing Krishna's holy name, preaching, converting people who are not devotees into devotees. So that kind of concept was not there before the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So one of the unique contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is just like Maharaj Prithu, he organizes, planet Earth. He first plans out planet Earth, and he's very, in a nice systematic, organized way, he then breaks up planet Earth into different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, so on and so forth. So similar kind of thing Bhaktivinoda Thakur does. He's given the credit of first starting organized preaching of Mahaprabhu's movement actually. Because after Mahaprabhu's disappearance, things slowly, the district section slowly started to get lost, and a lot of Sahajiyas, upper Sampradayas, they started. So he's given the credit of starting the preaching of Krishna consciousness in a very systematic way. And then when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he came, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's son, he then took it to the next level, and he established 64 maths or 64 preaching centers. in all the different, major cities around India. Then Prabhupada came. Then Prabhupada took it to the next level. Not only did he, on an organized scale, expand the movement of Mahaprabhu over India, but Prabhupada expanded it through the whole world actually, in a very systematic and organized way through ISKCON. So similar kind of thing that Prithu Maharaj did, we're seeing that our acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Thakur, and our own Srila Prabhupada, they've done actually to expand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement in a very systematic, organized way. Okay, we'll stop here. If there's any questions or comments. Yes, Ru. So your question is that we were saying that we shouldn't instruct senior Vaishnava, right? And you're saying sometimes in the past we might have done. Is that your question? Oh, out of ignorance we might have accidentally, advised someone or instructed someone who's senior to us. If we know someone who we might have done that to, then we can obviously go and apologize. But then when it comes to unknown offenses that we might have committed, then, we can just pray to Krishna to please give us the intelligence that we don't do the same thing in future. And when we, in the morning, right, after Tulsi Aarti, we do Vancha Kalpa Toribhasya, right? We offer our obeisances. At that time, in our mind, mentally, we can seek forgiveness from all the Vaishnavas, or Vaishnavis, for unknowingly committing any Vaishnava aparad. Okay, so while we're doing, even when we enter the temple room, we do Vanchakalpa, right? So whenever we're doing that, we can, in our mind or in our hearts, we can mentally seek forgiveness for any offenses we might have unknowingly committed. But if there is some offense that we know we have done, then the way to rectify is that we go to that devotee and just apologize. But if without our knowledge we might have done other aparads, right? But that's without our knowledge, so we don't know who we might have done. So whenever we're in the temple, we're offering obeisances, we can, mentally have that prayer in our mind. That while we're doing Vanchakalpa, we can pray that please, we can pray to all the Vaishnavas that please forgive me for any offenses I might have unknowingly committed. And at the same time, we can pray to Radha Gopinath to please give us intelligence into how to properly associate with devotees and how to behave nicely with devotees and not, commit any aparad, how to be more sensitive with devotees. And Radha Gopinath will help us. Okay. Second question. Yes, good question. So Sika Prabhu is asking that in this chapter we see that, after King Vena's, rule, there were a lot of thieves and rogues because after he passed away, there was no ruler. So because of that, no one was following anything properly on planet Earth. People were doing so many sinful things. So then Mother Earth, she withheld all the grains, foods, fruits, vegetables, so on and so forth. So Sika Prabhu is saying that now in today's Kali Yuga, we're seeing things even more worse, right? Than King Vena's time or King Prithu's time, or just after King Vena's time. So how is it that we're still able to get food, We're still able to get some fruits, vegetables, we're still getting rain. So few ways we can understand this. Firstly, the kind of food we're getting now, the kind of rains we're getting now, is different to the kind of food and rains they used to get in Vedic times. So in Vedic times, it's given that everyone used to do yagna, right? And everyone used to please Indra, please the demigods. So during Vedic times, it would only rain at night time when everyone is asleep. It wouldn't rain during the day, because if it, like we experienced, right, last few days, when it rains during the daytime, it ruins everyone's mood. You can't walk around, you have to take umbrella. You step in a puddle, your socks get wet, your shoes get wet. You know, you're walking down the street and the car is going by and there's a big puddle. Immediately, you know, that puddle goes and splashes all over you. So it's such an inconvenience, right, if it rains during the day. But during Vedic times, because people were pious, they used to do yagna, rain would only come at night, and enough rain would come to maintain all the farmers for agriculture to go on nicely. So nowadays, we get some rain, but not enough rain. Most places around the world, we see there is drought, there is shortage of rain. And so many of these big scientists, they're doing research. How we can get water from a different source. They're doing research of how to artificially create clouds, or how to artificially induce clouds to give us rain. So if we were actually getting enough rain, what's the need of so much research, right? So this is a fact that actually we're not getting enough rain. So Vedic times, there used to be plenty of rain, and it would only rain at night time, so as not to disturb the citizens during the daytime, because everyone was doing yagna properly. And nowadays we see the imbalance in the weather, right? Sometimes there's no rain, there's drought, and other times when rain will come, flooding will happen, right? Even recent times we saw flooding in Queensland or north of New South Wales. So Vedic times, these kind of natural calamities didn't happen. If it did happen, it only happened when big demons like Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha took birth. So in Bhagavatam it's given when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, when they were about to take birth, at that time all these crazy things started happening. At that time there were earthquakes, there were hurricanes, you know. There was crazy winds, rainfall, lightning, all of those started happening. So Prabhupada in that section he mentions, whenever there is an increase in the sinful living entities on this planet, at that time natural calamities will come. And that's what we're seeing now, you know, with the weather. There's tsunamis, earthquakes, flooding, so on and so forth. So the kind of food we're getting now, rain we're getting now, is different to what it was previously. When it comes to, so that's in regard to rain. In regards to food, the food we're getting now is completely different to what they used to get. Even our own grandparents, they will tell us, you know, that the food we're getting now in the shops, they have like no taste, you know, compared to the food they used to eat before actually. It looks very nice, you know, in Woolworths or Coles, very shiny. Each tomato is exactly, you know, 2 centimeters, you know, in diameter. Every apple looks the same, nice and glossy. But when it comes to tasting, they don't have much taste, they don't have much flavor or juice compared to even 100 years ago, the food that we used to get actually. So we're seeing a deterioration in the food, you know, lack of rainfall, irregular rainfall. So all these things we're still seeing. But someone can ask, why even we're getting that little rainfall? Why even we're getting that little food when people are so sinful? So the reason is because there's still devotees around, right? There's still devotees of Hare Krishna and other spiritual groups, you know, who are practicing God consciousness nicely. So Krishna has to take that into account also, right? So because of the presence of these devotees who are still on the surface of planet Earth, still some rainfall is coming, still some food is being produced, still some grains are coming. Okay, so due to the presence of devotees. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Yantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.